The fifth song on the album is My Sacred Inner Child. And this song is very, very special, very dear to my heart. And I actually wrote it when I was living in Vienna in Austria while I was still recovering from my divorce. And it's actually was written around the same time as the song Deep. And this song is about reconnecting with our inner child. And it was at a time when I was reconnecting with my inner child while I was doing some very deep healing work. Now, the inner child is the part of the psyche that always remains childlike. And it can also be seen as representing our core authentic self, the self that is there from the time we're very young, when we're born and we're a very young child, before we get conditioned to think and behave in different ways. Before wounding happens, you have that child that can feel awe and joy and spontaneity and feel free for creativity, which is a part of us that's always there, but we can become disconnected from it. And we often always at times connect to it, but because of wounding, because of conditioning, we can split off from it. And then what runs the show is often the wounded self, the wounded inner child. And when we do split off from that part of ourselves, we can forget that inner child, and that inner child can kind of be, in a closed place within us. And this song is about calling the inner child home. It's about calling that part of us home and saying, I'm here for you. I know the truth of your life. I know what's happened to you. I know past dramas and different things that have happened in your life. And I'm here to be with you. So come home to me. So that's what it's all about. I very strongly believe that there are three parts of us. There's the inner child, there's the adult self, and then we have also the higher self. And when those three parts can come together, we can really move forward beautifully in our lives. And I feel that this song really represents that, with the angelic choirs, with the adult self calling the inner child home, and in doing so, moving forward towards healing and moving forward in our life. And just before Sean goes into the music side of it, I just want to say that while we can have traumatic things that happen to us with regard to wounding in our lives, it doesn't always have to be traumatic. A child just being left at school for the first time can feel a sense of abandonment, or getting lost momentarily somewhere, or just not, having to learn to self-soothe on their own can be really hard. And so it doesn't have to be something grand and big or scary. That we all have certain levels of wounding, and this is about bringing the child home and reconnecting with that very beautiful, authentic, special part of us, and in doing so, moving forward so much stronger to really embrace life and embrace everything we wish for. So I pass it on to you, Sean.
Well, when Lindsey shared this song with me, immediately there's a couple lines in the song that kind of sort of the idea of a Disney movie approach, musical approach to the song popped into my head. I'm like, wow, that will really work. And I was thinking, well, if it's for the inner child and has a Disney movie feel, that'll probably reinforce it even better. But when I went down that road, I realized, wow, this is going to be a really tough task.
Yeah.
Because when this Lindsey brought the song to me, much of it of the song was structured, but the end had to be redone because of the way the words were going and how long it was going to be and the style of music that we're going to make out of it with the Disney feel.
Yes.
So I had to write a whole new end part of it and sort of a big transition, a bridge ending to the song.
You did an amazing job. I loved it.
But when I could see down the road, wow, I can hear in my head what this is going to sound like. But the problem was what I was hearing in my head, I had never done before.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, so how am I going to give this piece of music, that Disney feel. And so I spent, lots of time like really dialing into what creates that feel. How do you get that really magical, magical kingdom type feel that's in those types of songs. So it was a lot of work, because it was a full on real orchestration. I do orchestrations through the entire piece, but this one was the biggest one I'd ever even dared to do. And
Sean does all the orchestration. And I just have to say, I want to acknowledge you here, because I need to say that Sean is self-taught. And when you take a piece like this and put this kind of orchestration on, for someone who's learned, he had a few piano lessons as a child, but basically has learned through trial and error himself, this was a phenomenal task. And I thought, he executed it absolutely amazingly. So I just really wanted to acknowledge you on that.
Thanks. Yeah, it was tough, because I didn't know really what to call upon, and certain things I could hear going on in my mind, and that had been done with this type of music, and how was I going to achieve that? It was interesting because when you're doing those orchestral layers, and I've listened to classical music my entire life, and I've been playing classical music since I was 3. I started piano at 3. I was playing
with your mum.
Yes, with my mom. By the time I was about 5, she had me doing a bit of Mozart, Bach.
His mum were used to sing and play the piano.
Oh, definitely.
So that was some of his early training, but the rest is self-taught.
Yeah, exactly. So when I pieced this together, it's just and to make matters worse, I wasn't, I was my worst enemy, because here I am taking on this big task, but I'm telling myself, well, it needs a choir.
Yeah.
They didn't have a choir, so we got to be the choir. So when you hear a lot of the choir in there, it's like at one point we had 60 tracks of vocals just for the choir, just to layer up all the vocals. I'm doing all the male stuff. She's doing all the female stuff.
And how many tracks did it end up being? You did loads of tracks, and then you narrowed it down.
Yeah, it actually got up to over 450 tracks on this particular song, and then it got narrowed down. But at the end of the last song, at the end of it, still was over 300 tracks.
Yeah.
And
was this the biggest song on the album, instrumentally?
No, it's close. This song and Resonance, and A New Day. Both had very high track counts, and those 3 were the most.
Yeah.
This one, most of it went into the choir and stuff like that.
So I did many, many, many layers of the choir, and Sean is absolutely brilliant at doing harmonies. So I would be, standing in the vocal booth, and he'd then just say, wait a minute, we're going to do a harmony, and he magically would pull up all these different harmonies, and then I would just listen and sing them. And then, of course, Sean had all the layers of harmonies that he then later had to go
that was a tough
and arrange and organize. And
when you have 60 tracks of vocals and they're all singing the same thing, they have to be in sync like a choir singing together.
Yes.
But we weren't singing together with a choir. We were having to do them one at a time. So you have to go in and say, no, that was beautiful, but not quite. You kind of drifted this way, you drifted that way.
Yeah, and then some harmonies worked, some harmonies didn't. Some of the things were trial and error, and then until we found the ones we loved. Yeah.
So if you think about it, you got 450 tracks that were recorded, but in each one of those tracks, we might have done 10 to 20 takes to get it exactly right. So 10 times 450.
Yeah.
That's 4,000 takes in there.
I never imagined it was that long.
Of different things. Even the instruments, how many times did I, try to get that cello just right? And it's just like take. So if you you think about the 4,000 takes in there of all that kind of stuff, and then times the length of the song, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And then every time you record something, this is kind of a bit of a lesson of what goes on in here. Every time you record something, you have to stop and then listen back to it too. Yeah. Just like, okay, what was wrong with that? So you're playing it again, right? So every take you're playing at least twice. So it's not 4,500.
Yeah.
It's 10,000 You
Yeah.
know, and it just goes on and on and on. But
So you get the drift.
we got there. It's a
We did
long
get there.
story,
We
but
did get there.
I like to say that, you know, so people understand, you know, how
Yeah.
this stuff is really built. It actually, there's a lot
that go on.
of work, but it's a labor of love. Like seriously,
Yes.
I'm lucky to be able to have a passion like that. There's some people that are searching for a passion and they can't find it, or it seems to elude them. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm lucky to have it very clear to me.
And just on a last thing with this discussion about my sacred inner child, when I did meet Sean and I shared this song, I said my vision for it is for it to be the ultimate love song. Because for me, the ultimate love song is with ourselves. Self-love is the ultimate love. Until we have self-love, how can we love another? And I felt that Sean and myself singing, both of us together, we did create an ultimate love song with my sacred inner child. So we ended up being very happy with it. And I feel it, you know, my wish is for it to be a tribute to all our inner children, and that it support everyone in calling their inner child back home.